Hello, Chris Brush here. For the last year, I have been pretty silent on social media and haven't done any website updates or anything like that. That's because I've been really busy. For the past 8 years, I've made Plethrotone Studios my home. It was a multi-room facility that I helped build with a partner. And while I've done wonderful, excellent work out of there and love it to death, I have always longed to do more sonically with the drum tracks that I give people and to get more heavily into artist production. So, big news. I have my own studio now. Built it myself, and for the last year, I have been dreaming, planning, and doing all the labor, and now it's open for business, and I'd love to show you around. Right now, we are in my control room. Truth be told, I've had a version of this room for the last 3 or so years, where I've done some mix work, and I've worked with some artists on some smaller projects, but when it was time to build the tracking component of the studio here, I made sure to budget for upgrades. So one of the first things I did was got everything out of here, redid the floor, moved the speakers back in, took a measurement mic and measurement software, shot the room out, found the perfect space for the monitors, set those up. Then I went to work building rock wool panels, 4-inch deep, 4-pound density, some are 8-pound density, and put them on the walls where there were early reflection points to tame the room response, shorten the decay time, and then also as clouds above my mix position. Then I still had a problem in this room with some standing bass waves at a specific frequency. So I made a pair of limp mass absorbers, a really, really sciencey word, set of words, phrase, whatever. It's essentially a mostly empty box with a vinyl front head over it that acts kind of like a drum head and helps cancel out a wave because it's specifically measured to counteract a specific frequency. How many times can I say the word specific? Then I had this wonderful desk that a friend made for me, and I put all my gear inside, added some LED lighting, mini split, AC, and a nice little client area. And then it was time to have the gear go through a wall panel that hopefully I'm showing you now that takes all the tie lines, instruments, mics, USB, Cat 5.6, all the way down into the tracking room. Speaking of, let's take a look. Ta-da! This is my studio. Welcome, welcome. This is where I have spent every free waking moment of the last year building this from the ground up inside what was my existing garage. I wanted a place that was really vibey, that felt comfortable to play drums in, and also could be tuned to the aesthetic of any artist or band that I was working with. And I'm really proud of it. I started by doing some demo, cleaning out the garage, doing an acid etch stain on the concrete floor, and then used some acoustic calculators online to figure out the best dimensions of the room inside the garage I already had that would yield the least amount of standing waves and acoustic problems. Once I had that, I went into SketchUp, drew some plans in the software, and then started building. I framed the walls, 24-inch on center studs, I believe, bolted directly to the concrete. Nothing touches the existing frame of the house, so everything is completely decoupled, which is really helpful when you're trying to prevent sound that occurs in here from going out there. On top of that, the cavities in between the studs are stuffed with heavy insulation, and then I had the drywall crew put in 2 layers of 5/8-inch drywall with green glue and acoustic sealant in between, and that really helps with sound transmission. Finally, the doors, they're all solid core exterior doors with a layer of mass-loaded vinyl on either side. Makes the doors really heavy, and it helps keep sound from going through the doors. Let's talk acoustic treatment. Once I had the room built, it sounded great because it was really balanced, but it was way too live. You couldn't record anything in it. So I started with the ceiling. I suspended 56 2-inch rock wool panels from a metal rail system that I mounted directly to the drywall. I hung them at odd angles because I thought that looked cool, and I thought it also would help break up not only the sonic reflection, but also the visual effect of the ceiling. So it made the ceiling kind of disappear and look a little taller than it was. The walls I'm really proud of. It took me forever to crack the code on this, but I have panels that rotate. You can pull them out from the wall. One side is absorptive, one side is reflective. You can move them around into all sorts of different configurations, which really helps to dry up the room or to baffle things off if I'm recording multiple sources, or to make the room more alive. Super awesome. The coup de grace is the quadratic diffuser, sometimes called a skyline diffuser. It nearly killed me to build it. I milled everything myself. But man, am I happy with the results. It looks cool. I've got some neat lighting infused inside of it. And it really works. It helps break up the reflection so you don't get all these weird room boing sounds. And at the same time, it doesn't sacrifice ambience. So especially the drums being that close to this wall, it helps you not hear the room. You hear the drums instead. Before we get to the sound of the drums, let's talk a little bit about the microphones that I ended up bringing in. Most of them are the usual suspects you'd find anywhere around Nashville, but some of them I built myself because I really fell in love with the idea of the carpenter kind of using and building his own tools. So for instance, these pair of overheads here, these are Neumann U87 clones that I built with Peluso capsules. I don't know if you can see it in the shot here, but there's a FET 47 clone on the outside of the kick. And then I have 3 Neumann KM84 clones that I built, one of which is on the snare and features a hypercardioid capsule and an extra beefy capacitor that helps it keep up with the sound pressure levels when I'm really cracking on the snare, so the capsule doesn't distort. Let me see, what else? Wiring all the mics in. I showed you the control room panel upstairs. Those tie lines come all the way down here into 3 places. One, the tracking room, which has 32 mic lines, a bunch of Cat 5 and Cat 6 for the Listenback, for USB, for HDMI, and then also has TRS lines and speaker lines. Then there are little companion boxes in the stairwell on the way down here to the tracking room from the control room, and also in a little amp room that exists underneath the stairs. Both of those rooms are outfitted with some number of XLR and some speaker cable and TRS lines as well, in case you want to have an amp in here, cabinet out there, whatever. I also have pass-throughs in the tracking room to each of those locations. So again, you can have something in here and have the sound source out there and mic it up however you want. All those mics and wires carry sound. How do we hear them when we're playing? I use the Behringer P16 system. I think it's one of the best things they ever made. I can put little 16-channel mixers at each musician's station, and then for talkback, I have these foot switches that I wired up custom that allow them to do a push-to-talk kind of thing. It makes it really, really handy and efficient. I mentioned Vibe before, and Vibe was very important to me whenever I built this room. So I did all LED lighting that's controllable via app, so I can change the color, the pattern, the brightness, all those things. In addition, I'm a natural light freak, but down here I don't have any windows, so I went with a giant movie screen and a projector. And I can, let's say, look out a window on a rainy day, or I can just have my Pro Tools rig really, really big. Finally, I have Wise cameras installed so I can see somebody if I'm up in the control room tracking down here, and vice versa. Finally, before we hear some sounds, let's talk backline. In addition to drums, I wanted to be able to record some other stuff, and at Plethrotone I had use of a lot of different amps, and I brought some of them over here, some that I've really fallen in love with over the years. I've got a fantastic Silvertone 1012 that I love the tone of. I have a wonderful 70s B15 that just gets killer bass sounds, and guitar sounds too, wink wink. And then I have this really weird custom amp, we call it a woolen sack. Yes, you heard me, a woolen sack. And man, it's just like this distortion king. I freaking love the thing. And now we're finally to the drums, the impetus behind this entire build in the first place. I finally have a permanent home for all these guys. This is only some of them, actually. And I will be using some combination thereof of any of these drums when I'm playing on songs for any clients, along with something from my ever-growing arsenal of snares and cymbals. But enough about all of this. Let's actually hear how it sounds. I think I've got the Ludwig mid-90s kit set up, so we'll hear some sounds on that. Okay, now you've seen the place. Hopefully that makes up for why I haven't been so available on social media and on my site. But hey, I'm ready to make music, so reach out. It doesn't even have to be about making music. I just love nerding out about this stuff. Happy to talk about any of this. If you're interested in how I built this place and the work that I did, then check out the link here. All right, talk to you soon.